Good morning to you. And I want to let you know that I love food. I love Mexican food, tacos, fajitas, all that kind of stuff. And I really, really love Hershey's peanut butter cups. Oh, they're so amazing. They're equally evil and beautiful at the same time. They are so brilliant. And I wonder what your favorite food is. Maybe your favorite food is some of these things on the screen. Maybe it's something else. And you're probably thinking, oh, Lesley, why are you tempting me with all this food? You're probably looking at all these pictures of these foods, probably making you hungry. Now imagine if you were all here, there's a lot of us here, and you were pretty hungry, and all I had to give you was this small packet of crisps. I'm not sure I could make it stretch to all of you. You may just get a slight crumb. I wouldn't be able to do that, but I know someone who could. And this morning, we're going to look at what Jesus did when there were a large amount of people and a small amount of food. And we're going to see what Jesus can do with small things which show us who he is and how he asks us to partner with him in doing that. So we're going to look at John chapter 6, verses 1 to 15. And it starts with the words, after this. So what it's referring to is Jesus has just healed a lame man, and he's just had an altercation with the Jewish leaders because he's been calling God Father, which to them is shocking. So it says, after this, Jesus crossed over to the far side of the Sea of Galilee, also known as the Sea of Tiberias. A huge crowd kept following him wherever he went because they saw his miraculous signs as he healed the sick. Then Jesus climbed a hill and sat down with his disciples around him. It was nearly time for the Jewish Passover celebration. So I haven't got time to go into this, but if you go and you read John 6 and some of the chapters before and after, you'll see that there's a lot of deeper meanings that the events that we read about today are happening around the time of Passover. It's really meaningful. And then it goes on to say, Jesus saw a huge crowd of people coming to look for him. Turning to Philip, he asks, where can we buy bread to feed all these people? He was testing Philip, for he already knew what he was going to do. He often asks questions not because he needs to know the answer, but he wants to draw out the answer from people. Philip replied, well, even if we worked for months, we wouldn't have enough money to feed them. Then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. There's a young boy here today with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good is that with this huge crowd? Continues on to say, Jesus says, tell everyone to sit down. He said, so they all sat down on the grassy slopes, and the men alone numbered about 5,000. So there's more, way more than 5,000 people. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them to people. So he took the loaves, he gave thanks, and he distributed it. Afterwards, he did the same with the fish, and they all ate as much as they wanted. After everyone was full, Jesus told his disciples, now gather the leftovers so that nothing is wasted. So this is amazing. This is an amazing miracle. Who can do this? Who has the power to do this, to take this small amount of food and feed more than 5,000 people? And not just feed them a little bit, a snack, actually fill them so they are full and there are leftovers in the baskets. Can Rocky from Paw Patrol do this? No. Can Black Panther do this? I mean, he is amazing and that's a great film, but no. Can Trini Kwan from the Yellow Power Ranger, I had to look that one up, do this? No. Their power is not real. Their power is not real. But Jesus is real. And Jesus is powerful. Only God can do something like this. Not just a God, but the God. And can you see what this shows about who Jesus is? Can you see it? Do you have the ears to hear? Are there things in your life at the moment that seem impossible? Do you look at the insignificance of your resources and think, what can I possibly offer Jesus? If you know who Jesus is and come to him with whatever you've got, in the hands of Jesus, things become possible and significant. But how? Philip says, we don't have enough resources to feed these people. How can we do this? But then Andrew brings the resources that they do have to Jesus, the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. They come from the hands of a small boy so insignificant we don't even know his name. We still don't know his name. But we do know he was willing to give the small amount that he had to Jesus. When he gave his lunch to Jesus, he didn't even know that he was going to get anything back. He gave his lunch. He didn't know he was going to have anything to eat. But through what he did, everybody was fed. He handed all he had to Jesus and watched as Jesus did something incredible with it. So what does that look like for us today? Well, it could look like maybe you have a skill or an ability that you think is small. Maybe you're good at football. If you give that to Jesus, he may ask you to do something like you train young football players at the football academy. And through doing that, he multiplies the small thing you've brought. It may be that you are good at smiling and you're friendly. It's a really small thing. When you give that to Jesus, he may multiply that by asking you to say hello to someone who's new at work or school or anywhere else or church. And he multiplies the significance of that. It may be that you have something like a car. You give it to Jesus. He asks you to give lifts to people to church or to hospital appointments or to bring them round to your house for dinner. So Jesus asks the disciples to find the lunch, then distribute the lunch, then clear up. And that's not a small job. I only asked 3 volunteers to hand out some sweets and snacks to 3 people. They're collecting leftover bread from 5,000 plus people. Have you ever had a party and had to clear up afterwards? You've probably not had a party with 5,000 plus people that you've had to clear up for. You may have done. That would have been epic. It would have taken a while, and it would have been enough time for you to probably grumble. In the Vineyard, we have a saying, and the saying is, everyone gets to play. We all get to join in with and do the things that Jesus did. It doesn't matter what your age or what your ability is. Jesus had the power. He could have fed those people without using the boy or the disciples. He could have done it. He has the power. We know that. But he actively encourages others to get involved. Jesus gets them to find the resources, give the resources, and gather up the leftovers. It's probably not that glamorous at the time, but when we look at it now, wow, what is the significance and what is the power of that? So when we follow Jesus, we get to be active and join in, but the power belongs to Jesus. They don't just sit and watch him do it. They don't ask him to do something and sit and watch him do it. In fact, they don't even ask him. He asks them. What is Jesus asking you to join in with today? When you're out and about, a great thing to do is get into the habit of asking Jesus, what are you doing here today, Jesus? How can I join in? And knowing Jesus enough that when he asks you to do something, you recognize his voice. But that is not the end of the passage. The end of the passage says, when the people saw him do this miraculous sign, they exclaimed, surely he is the prophet we've been expecting. And when Jesus saw that they were ready to force him to be their king, he slipped away into the hills by himself. He's so surprising. He's so surprising. Miracles don't make everyone believe in Jesus. They've just seen this massive miracle. And this is about control. They seek to control Jesus. They've seen the power, don't really know him, and they seek to control him. The crowd recognized Jesus because of some of the signs and the teaching and the amazing thing he's done. But they want him to do what they want. They want to force him to be the king. Have you ever got angry with Jesus for not doing what you want? Have you ever sought to control him? I encourage you to listen to him. Hang out with him. Why were the disciples different? They hung out with him, spent time with him, listened to him, listened to the teaching. They had the ears to hear. Spend as much time with him as you can. So to finish with, those who have ears to hear, give Jesus their resources. What they have, no matter small or seemingly insignificant. And Jesus can do more than you could ever imagine with those things. Those who have the ears to hear, recognize who Jesus is and do what he wants them to do, not try to control him or make him do what they want. It's not possible anyway, so best not to try. And those who have ears to hear are transformed and join in with what he is asking them to do. And the amazing thing is, in this story, at this time, the Holy Spirit hadn't been poured out on the believers. They still had Jesus with them. We now have the help of the Holy Spirit. So let's ask him to come.